much of a difference do your tires in SnowRunner actually matter? Well, we're going to be using a truck that has vanilla tires, stock-ish tires, redline tires, and cheater tires to actually compare the capabilities of these grip levels side by side, or rather almost side by side. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, no matter what tires we're using, this truck is going to function off of the same power level, transmission level, and suspension setup. So those things are not going to change throughout the entire duration of the test, no matter what tires we are using. And of course, we're going to be starting on the vanilla-ish tires, which are based off of the same grip levels, or roughly the same grip levels, that you would get from some of the tires that are available on the stock game F750. So it'll provide us with a really good idea of where your vanilla-esque gameplay performance is going to sit. Now, one of the reasons I really wanted to do this video is because there's always back and forth in the comment section of both my videos and other SnowRunner videos, and also there's back and forth in the comment section of mods on mod.io as well, of people essentially trying to argue about what is and what isn't overpowered. And I say overpowered in air quotes because overpowered is a very all-encompassing term, right? Some people think that overpowered means anything with bigger tires than what would be available on a vanilla vehicle of that same class. Whereas some other people might think that overpowered means, well, anything with tires that are over a certain grip level. So what I attempt to do with this, or rather what I am attempting to do with this test, is to go through these different grip levels using mud as our sort of equalizer to see where all of these different grip levels fall. Now, beginning with the vanilla-ish tires, we're going to go through this first mud bog in high, pretty impressively so, and then once we get into the second one, high range completely and immediately gets stuck. Now, this is obviously very much so expected, but what I didn't expect was what happened shortly after that. And that is, with this thing even being in low range with the suspension in high mode, we were pretty solid on grip for a while, and then once we got towards the end of the mud bog, it started to kind of almost give up. And what I mean when I say give up, again in air quotes there, is that it was almost like it got to a certain point, like it got to an actual like physical spot in the mud, and then it was like, I'm good, I can't continue any further. And I'm sure you could kind of say that, well, it's making incremental progress. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I would call it incremental progress. I would probably just call it stuck. I would probably just call it stuck because that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. So once I made sure that there wasn't really anything else that was going to help, like going into different gear ranges or turning the steering wheel back and forth, I was like, you know, I'm just going to go back to the garage and we're going to grab the next set of tires, which is the stock-ish. Now, stock-ish is a very slight upgrade from vanilla-ish. At least that's what I have found. It might be a little bit better on rocks than it is in mud, but I found the difference between vanilla-ish and stock-ish to be pretty minor, to be honest. Although, if you're looking for something that is just a hair better, right, like just a tiny little bit better than the vanilla grip level, this would probably be a good choice for you. And while I do tend to gravitate towards the redline tires, I could definitely see how the stockish ones would be a good choice for somebody that's looking for a really, really high performance truck that is just a hint above vanilla performance level, but they don't necessarily want to feel like they're bashing through every campaign level at breakneck speed, you know, with enough grip to reverse the rotation of the planet or something. Now, I think that, again, this grip level definitely has its spot, but I don't know if it's the level I would go with, and you'll see why in just a moment. So it gets through the shallow mud with no issue. It gets through sort of the mid-level mud with no issue. And then in the deeper stuff, it actually grinds to a halt in high at basically the same exact spot that the vanilla-ish tires did. And then once you put it into low, it gets about the same distance as the vanilla-ish tires do. And then it just starts having the exact same issue to where it just kind of can't go any further, and it is effectively stuck. Although it is making tiny little, not at this point, but you'll see in just a moment, it gets to a point where the progress it is making is so incremental that it's basically imperceptible. If you were looking at the game at a glance anyway, you would be like, are we even like going anywhere? And I think that that's where you get to the point with these tires where they are a hair more effective than the vanilla-ish tires, but it is so incredibly close. I mean, like, look at this. This is essentially stuck. You are technically making forward motion, but the motion you are making is so incredibly minute that you may as well call the truck completely stuck. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't come in with something else and rescue it, or winch to a tree if you had one nearby, but that's not really the purpose of this test. So now, we're gonna move on to the next tire, my favorite tire in the lineup, the red line tires. Now, the reason why I like the red lines so much is because the red lines kind of find this happy medium between the, not the vanilla-ish, but the stockish tires and the cheater tires. But I think deeper than that, they find a happy medium between a tire that is so grippy it will, reverse the Earth's rotation, and yet a tire that is more grippy than something that just slips and slides on every surface and gets stuck in mild to moderate mud. And so I really, really like these tires, and they suit my gameplay style really well. Now, there are a lot of people out there that say I play the game wrong, play the game incorrectly, and that my gameplay style is just, flat out not how you're supposed to play the game. But then again, there are people that play this game even more unhingedly. Is that even a word? Unhingedly? I don't... You know what? We're just gonna act like it's a word, and we're gonna move on because English is fun like that. Now, back to these tires. Now, you can see very clearly in the kind of surface level mud that it cruises right through them like it's no big deal. Or rather, cruises right through it like it's no big deal. The moderate mud, it's fine, and then in high, it still sinks in the deeper stuff at about the exact same spot. But the big difference comes in when you put it into low. Now, unlike the other two prior tires, these, when you put the truck in low, it actually starts to make grip again, and it starts to make forward momentum again. Now, once you find that forward momentum, you're good, you can keep on cruising, but you're not necessarily going so fast that you wind up in a situation where you have to deal with wheel spin constantly, and you're making so little forward motion that you can't do anything. So again, that's why I love these tires so much. And then for fun, I decided to throw it into this mud, which swamps it immediately. But then again, this mud will swamp almost anything, including mega trucks. So you don't really have to worry about it here. And now it's time to call the angry mob and sharpen your pitchforks, because we're going to throw on the cheater tires. Now, if there's anything that will rile up a particular part of the SnowRunner community, it is tires with exaggerated grip levels. Now, I don't know what it is about tires with exaggerated grip levels that will send people into an absolute, brain frenzy. It will go from a conversation just about tires, or about I like this mod, I like this truck, I like this map, to screaming that you're playing the game wrong and it's not what the developers intended, and you're this and you're that if you use this type of tire or this type of truck. And it really, again, it just turns into brain rot, and I'm not quite sure why there's a particular part of the community that happens to. However, I digress. Here is this truck on cheater tires. Now, the cheater tires themselves weren't actually quite as overpowered as I expected them to be. I mean, in comparison to the vanilla tires, yes, they are absolutely overpowered if you consider anything outside of the vanilla scope of the game to be overpowered, but they're not so overpowered that you run into the issue that some mods have where the truck is like automatically going backwards. There are some trucks that have so much grip that they will actually automatically start going backwards on their own without you touching anything. Not sure why that happens. I think it's just like a phenomenon of the physics system, but again, not quite sure. Now, surprisingly, I expected to be able to go through this mud pit in high. However, I did have to put the truck in low, and the pace wasn't all that different from the pace that I was managing with the redline tires. And I was actually really shocked by that. I thought it was going to be a lot more extreme of a difference than that, but it felt a lot more like a incremental increase than an extreme difference. And then of course, getting it out here, you might as well not even try. Even with the cheater tires, this area was pretty much impassable, at least for this truck on this particular tire size. And now, let me know in the comment section down below which tires you prefer, which tires you like to use, and which tires you maybe weren't expecting to do as well, or maybe not as well as you thought. But that is going to do it for this one, y'all. And if you enjoyed, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I will see y'all next time.